Thanks for stopping by the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here, being subbed. If you're not, hit the button. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit the like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into the real of reality TV.
Talk to me nice, talk to me honestly. Look in my eyes, don't let it fall on me. Say you're a good guy, make me believe it. Don't wanna hear it, I wanna see it. See how rewind, when we rewind, feels so nice.
What is up, guys? So listen, I don't even know where to begin because I honestly have been so irregular with doing content these days. Life has just really been lifing for me. So anything content wise, I've been making notes or watching and saying I'm going to get around to it. So when I get a chance to getting around to this stuff, it's just been so much that's been happening. I'm like, I don't even know where to begin. But listen, I just thought I would jump in right here when it comes to this Kenya and Brit situation on Real Housewives of Atlanta. This this thing that Kenya is on now with, apparently she's had a YouTube channel for years but has not been active, which is fine. But it's mighty funny now that she's wanting to come over to the YouTube to do her confessionals. In my words, I recently talked about it a little bit about her. If she wasn't really fired before, she probably is most definitely now, because I felt like if she really was not terminated for good, like she said she wasn't, and she was still being paid and she's still an employee of the Bravo network, then she should just see it as a paid vacation. Not saying that for your ego purposes, you wouldn't want to still be seen on the show and you feel like you should have been getting the confessionals, you should have been in the, you know, what do they call it? The taglines, the opening scene, and definitely in the cast photo. She's in none of that. So it's mighty weird to me that she really hasn't been fired. That's what she said. And some other people have said she's not fired. She was just suspended. But I feel like if she really was not terminated, then she's definitely putting her own nail in the coffin, because doing all this right here, I don't think it would be a good look. Now, I wouldn't say, because some would say, well, how's it fair that she can't speak her voice and speak about what's really going on with everything happening and she's supposed to just sit there and take it? Well, if she's still getting the check she claims that she's still getting, but she just wasn't filming for the rest of the season, then maybe you would do it for the sake of the check. I don't know. But I'm just saying, Kenya has grown on a lot of people over the years, but I think sometimes she may forget. I think sometimes she may forget that she has been a victim before, but a lot of people did not see her as a victim. She was not seen as very likable before, but she has overcome that. Again, I don't come here to cheerlead and champion Brit's cause, because in my personal opinion, I feel like she would be more suitable for a show like Love and Hip Hop Atlanta versus the Real Housewives of Atlanta. But what do I know? Because maybe Bravo is trying to go into a newer direction with the cast in terms of many years ago when we looked at the Housewives of Atlanta. It not saying that the women were old. That's not what I'm saying. But they seem to be more mature. Sheree Whitfield, um, Lisa Wu Hartwell at the time. She's no longer a Hartwell. Nene Leakes, um, Deshaun Snow. You know what I mean? And then the tramp on the show was Kim Zolciak. So maybe Brit Eady was supposed to be like the Kim Zolciak, just not a Caucasian chick on this franchise. I don't know. But I'm saying, just in terms of the things that has been revealed about her or we know about her right now, maybe she would have been a more suitable fit for the Real Housewives. Not, I'm sorry, not for the Real Housewives of Atlanta, but for Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. But maybe Bravo's trying to take it into another direction at this point in time. I don't know. But I'm saying all of this now because I just feel like I'm sorry. You all can disagree with me. We can all agree to disagree. This is just my opinion based on what I see. And no, I'm not an attorney. Never have been. But I was a legal assistant before for 12 years in my former life. But really, I was a legal assistant for 12 years. And if this were a situation that went to court, I really don't believe that Kenya would have been able to use what Brit said against her for a, a pressing charges sort of thing, but maybe she could have used that to go to the higher ups at the network to say, I don't feel comfortable filming with this chick. I really feel like she should be suspended for what she said. Because based on what we saw, based on what we had privy to, Brit did not say, it doesn't look like Brit said that to Kenya. Now, I know they can manipulate things with the scenes and with the cameras and whatever, but I believe Brit was saying what she was saying about Kenya to someone else. And it was hot and it was ridiculous. And she should have never said what she said. I'm not saying that she didn't say anything wrong, but I don't think that Kenya could take that as this was a threat on my life. And two, if it was really a threat on her life, that's not the way you go about responding to it. So I actually do agree with Brit when Brit said, or was it somebody else that was speaking to Brit at the time? Forgive me because I can't remember everything. But someone did say it was either Brit or someone that was speaking to Brit in a scene that said, if she was really a threat, then that's not the way that you would go about it. Because if you're really afraid, you would respond by doing something pre-calculated like that. And that's what I had already said before. So basically, somebody's saying what I had already said. But here's the thing, Kenya was not a, not a likable character either, but she was a victim of lies. She was a victim of some things that were not favorable to her, even though Kenya was wrong. Okay? Kenya was wrong. When she pulled out that bullhorn and the scepter, she pulled out the scepter at the reunion with Portia, getting on Portia's nerves, and she pulled out the bullhorn, said, "You are a dumb hoe. Shut up." And Portia, Portia did what she did, and we all remember that. But maybe we need a little bit of a reminder. So I'm going to share my screen and let's talk about it because these things come to my mind and I'm like, it's funny how time flies and sometimes people forget. But yeah.
Not a story. I know a person named Devon, and I've done many appearances from him. Excuse me, I'm talking. And if you don't, if that touches me, I'm going to ask, bitch. Please shut up. You do not have the right to talk. Bitch, don't point that at me. Wait a minute now. Don't point that at me. That's right. Don't point your point at me.
Again, I'm not trying to equally compare Kenya pulling out the scepter and pointing it at Portia, but it was inappropriate. It was something that she did. Kenya was not a likable character. What Kenya did, she shouldn't have done it. All right.
I'm not playing with you. You need to be quiet. Like I said, I know the guy who. What the hell is that for? I know the guy who actually. Are we bringing props now? Yes, we're bringing props because clearly, if you blow that over here, it's gonna be a real problem. You missed the battery. Yes, it is. Your props. You gotta at least have them together now. I know, right?
So again, Kenya being pre-calculated, right? It seems to be something that she is pretty used to doing with her with her shenanigans. Current time, she's doing poster board size images of Brit Edie, which Brit says she was underage at the time, and somebody else said that too.
He tried to put it together in front of everybody. When you get ready to talk with adults, what I will not do is have you talk over me, okay? So as I was saying, the person that you're gonna let her talk about, Angie, is a singer named Devon. You appreciate that all up in your ear like that? So anyway, the person that she's talking about is a friend that I've done appearances with. We even joked about it on Twitter that, media came out with some ridiculous story. So that's just simply not true. Okay. His mother actually called a friend of mine. I'm not going to be told her. Lied on.
So you see, Kenya, she was not likable, and she was doing things that were getting on people's nerves. And, we're going to fast forward it a bit. I know most of us have already seen this before. So, yeah, let's just go there.
You ain't saying nothing that you're talking about. And you sitting up here. You are a dumb call. Shut up. Yeah, you want to get me fired? You up. I will get fired.
Drug her to the ground. Okay? Still, Kenya was a victim. She was not a likable victim, but she was still a victim, even though she did some things that were uncalled for. All right, so we get the point. We've all seen that before, but that's one of the points I wanted to make, because honestly, there's a number of them that I could go down. But Kenya, even though she said some things and did some things that were uncalled for, should have never happened, should have never pulled out that scepter, should have never pulled out that bullhorn, she still did not deserve to get her hair yanked and drugged to the ground and look like kicked too, with them big clonkers that Portia had on her feet. So the thing about it is, Brit is not a likable character. She's not, a lot of people don't care for her. A lot of people feel like, girl, you ain't no victim. You was doing PRN. You knew exactly what you was doing. Those images were online, this and that and the other. I'm sorry. I don't agree that she deserved to have that happen to her, and people should just, well, you know what? It's fair game, because she said she had whips and GUNs in the vehicle. She did not, first of all, she didn't say that to Kenya. Unless they manipulated the footage now. Like I'm saying, I can only go by what is shown. It was said, but it was not said to Kenya. And she wasn't saying it to Kenya like, girl, I'm about to go get this at the car and it's about to be on. It's how many times have we heard on these shows someone says, girl, I'll KILL you. You're going to be leaving up out of this place in a body bag. I'm going to put, like, I've heard so many different things on these reality shows. People say a lot of dumb SHIT that they should not be saying, and it doesn't mean that they would actually do it. We've heard it on a number of occasions on these reality shows and even on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. So, is Brit a victim? Is Kenya a victim? I have to say that I feel that Kenya is a victim of her own poor decisions. She should have never done that, especially when she knew the risks that were taken on her behalf for her business. She should have just not went there, because she said that, pretty much you're a peasant and I'm a queen. So if you're a queen, then why are you responding to a peasant in this way? She should, like she said, paying her dust. Man, she gave her a full on production and a show. It was a display. It was not dust. So honestly, Kenya was bothered, and Kenya did not pay her dust. Kenya gave her a display. And now Brit's going on a press tour, which I feel is fully backed by Bravo, because I believe Bravo is like, bravo. Congratulations, you're helping us to cut our budget with this high paid heifer. That's my personal opinion, guys. I could be wrong, but the way things are these days, almost everybody's looking to cut costs, because inflation is a real thing. This recession is a real thing. The stuff that's going on in this nation right now is real. Tariffs and all the other stuff. Advertisers ain't paying like they were before. Views are down, not just across YouTube, but on, television. So if they're able to back Brit versus Kenya, that's what they're going to do. But it doesn't mean that they're backing someone that's wrong. Brit may not be likable. She may not be seen as a victim to many, but there's been many times when Kenya was not seen as a victim either because she was not seen as a likable character either. Okay. And I feel that Kenya is missing that point. And she just made a terrible, horrible decision. She talked about, she blew, did the dramatic blowing of the hand, paying her dust. No, girl, you did not pay her dust. You paid her a full on display. And Brit, whether her apology was genuine or not, yeah, we can judge it and say, "Oh, that wasn't genuine. She didn't really mean that or whatever." Well, she did it, and Kenya declined it. Kenya did not accept it. It's honestly it's not really up for debate at that point because Brit did offer an apology. Yeah, Kenya could say, I didn't believe it. I don't believe it's sincere or whatever. Well, honestly, you turned it down. It wasn't like Brit came in there and said, BF you. And I I meant everything that I said. She did apologize. Kenya chose not to accept it and then move forward with the humiliation tactic. She was wrong. She was wrong. So again, Kenya was not seen as a likable character before either, but she was a victim. Another, another franchise. Candace and Monique, Real Housewives of Potomac. I talked about that a number of times before. Candace was not seen as a very likable character to many either, but she was a victim. And I talked about that, and there were many people that didn't agree with me on that either. But Monique was wrong. Monique had no right to bash that girl's head into that table and said, I'm gonna kill her when they had already pulled her back in a way. She wanted to go back for more and said, I'm gonna kill her. So Monique was, well, there are conflicting reports. I believe she was terminated, but some people say, oh, she just decided to not come back. I don't know if I really believe that. But anyway, guys, yeah, Candace was not seen as a likable character either, but she definitely was a victim. She didn't deserve to get her head bashed into that picnic table at the wine tasting event or whatever it was that they were at when all that went off. So, yeah, people can be unlikable and still be a victim. So, Brit may not be a perfect victim, but neither was Kenya. So I feel like this is what she's going to just have to take and eat it. Will she get her YouTube views? Yeah, she'll get her views, get her little check off of that. But is that going to get her back onto the show? Is that going to cause her to have a win with Bravo? I mean, she can go ahead and allow this team twirl and this petition to get her back on the show and get Brit off and whatever. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to work, guys. But you guys, you can let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for being here, liking, and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful. And now I'm going to say bye.